This is the Nomad Futurist podcast, a podcast about the evolution of technology, society, and transformation. Connect with us, share your thoughts with us at nomadfuturist.com. Let's get this started. Here are Phil and Nabil. Hello. Welcome to Nomad Futurist. This is your co-host Nabil Mahmood from Kailua Kona, Hawaii.
This is your co-host Philip Koblenz from Montclair, New Jersey.
And this is Emma Grace Myers from Bryan, Texas.
Emma, thank you very much for taking the time to join us today. You and I had the opportunity of meeting up in Dallas, Texas, at one of the conferences I spoke at. And your story kind of fits in with what we've been trying to share with the world. And it can't be any better timing than Carrie launching her book. So let's start to get to know you a little bit. What do you do these days? Where you're at in the data center industry?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm a sales representative for Honeywell's data center team. And Honeywell has 4 main divisions, and I'm under the Building Technologies group. And within that, a subgroup called the Honeywell Building Solutions. And so I've been in this role just over 10 months now. And prior to that, coming up on a year, in December 2021, I graduated from Texas A&M with a BS in Industrial Distribution from the College of Engineering, as well as a business minor.
All right. So that's what kind of hit the home run with me when you and I actually met at the last event, that you've been in the space for just under a year and you just graduated with industrial distribution as your major. How did you come across the data center industry, and what was that transition like?
Yeah, I like to say this industry found me rather than the other way around. So I had the opportunity to intern with Honeywell in the summer of 2021. And I showed up on my first day to find out my assignment, what group I would be in. And they told me I'd be in the data center group. My first question was, great, what's a data center? And so from that point on, I really got to spend that summer learning about data centers and more so the players in the space, as well as just the administrative side of things that come with any new job. I really got to spend that time learning kind of the ins and outs of Honeywell. And so when I came back full time this past January, I hit the ground running, already having some familiarity with the players in the space and knowing what a data center was on my first day this time.
Amazing.
So that's how the industry found me.
What did you want to do at Honeywell? Like, what was your goal when you signed up for the internship in the first place?
Yeah, well, it was definitely to gain some sales experience before I graduated, and so that was in my top reason when I was looking for an internship, was to gain experience. And the appeal that Honeywell had to me specifically was just how broad of an organization it is, and how many fingers they have in every industry. They're really in every space. And so if I got to Honeywell, I figured I would have the opportunity to move around and find what my interests really were. And lo and behold, I find the data center industry very interesting. So I'm still here.
Well, that's excellent. So looking at your CV on LinkedIn, you've got some distribution experience, then you did some roofing supply as well as an intern. And then you majored in industrial distribution. Did you ever think about being in this space, or did you have other desires? Was technology even on the forefront of anything that you wanted to do in your career?
I wouldn't say it was on the forefront while I was in college in the beginning. It came to mind after I did get some great experience working in like the roofing industry. I have respect for all industries, and something I learned about myself is that I love to keep learning. And so by the end of my summers in the roofing industry, if I could name the products in the warehouse, my question was, okay, well, now what? I would say the interest that technology brings to me is that it's always changing. I can keep learning. And so it became more apparent as I was finishing up my college journey that I wanted to be somewhere in a space where I could continuously learn, and technology offered that.
Yeah, I think one of the things we try to say as old hats in this industry is that the industry is unique in that it has all these different subverticals in it, right? You can be on the construction side of it, the site selection side of it. You can be in legal, or you can be in marketing, or you can be in sales. And what we've always had difficulty as an industry to do is to be attractive to young people like yourselves. You might win the contest. Is she the youngest person we've ever had on the podcast? You're pretty damn close.
Yeah, no, she is the youngest person.
Right? You win an award. She gets some sort of badge.
I've got a pin for you, Emma.
To make represent. But I'm youngest podcast guest. So I'm going to make you now speak for your entire generation. You are going to be, what is it? Is it Zillennial? I don't even know what, no, it's past that, right? I don't even know what the moniker for your generation is. It sounds like the fact that there are different parts of our industry and it's ever evolving and there are so many ways that you can take what you're interested in and apply it to our industry is a big draw for you. But there are other things that you think would appeal that you can articulate to younger folks to try to get them to look at this as an industry that they want to participate in?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest, maybe not the biggest appeal, but a large appeal would be just asking them how their phone works and hey, have you ever thought about what the cloud is? Because a lot of my friends had not. They'd never been asked that question. They didn't give it a second thought. And so I would say that something would appeal to my generation would just spreading the word that the earth was not created with this digital infrastructure and the power required to power our phones and everything we use. That wasn't just inherent in the earth. It requires buildings. It requires data centers. It requires new technology. It requires power and cooling. And I would challenge them to think about that. And I think that would be really interesting to a lot of people. I would hope it would be. I genuinely think the word is just not out and people don't question it. They do not question how things work.
Right. They take for granted the fact that they have access to this technology, right? That they were born with. The reason why we got into this space in our generation is because we straddled that kind of before the digital era and today. So we saw it and we saw life without it. And the wonderment of it all is what kind of attracted us to the space, not any specific knowledge or training, because there was none to be found. So it's an interesting take. I think one of the initiatives we're trying as part of our foundation is to try to instill that kind of foundational knowledge of what drives technology early on in education, not wait until college, make it part of STEAM programs and in elementary and junior high school and middle school and high school education so that people that are leveraged in every vertical, right? Is there a person of your age group that doesn't use technology, doesn't use their phone, doesn't use TikTok, doesn't get frustrated when it doesn't work?
Yeah, no, I really can't think of one person I know that does not have a smartphone or a laptop or an iPad. No, everyone uses it. Everyone touches it and very few question it.
Until it doesn't work. And they're like, what is
Until it doesn't work.
And then they turn it to Neanderthal and just start smacking it because they haven't been given the tools to figure out that there are likely things that are going along between this device in your hand and whatever application you're using. And there's a glitch. It's a miracle that it works to begin with.
Yes. Yeah, there's no troubleshooting except turning it on and off again.
Usually it works.
Yeah, the power cycle function works. So Emma, question for you. You fell in this space, the industry found you. Of course, with your industrial background, it of course helped the situation that you had the direction to choose from. Where do you think is the biggest gap right now as we get into a major human capital deficit on a go-forward basis, as we are not getting a lot of younger audience into our space? Where do you think the major gap is?
The gap is just that itself, that there is a gap because it's not talked about. It's just, I had not heard the word data center before that first day at my internship. And if the word were out and if people talked about it, I think that would gain interest in itself for the reasons we discussed earlier. And I see that there is going to be, people are going to hit that retirement age before too long. And I'm looking around at these event shows and I think I'm one of the only few in my 20s. And I see that at some point in the next few years, that retirement's going to hit and a lot of people are going to be moving out of this space. And I see
you staring at us when you're saying retirement. I get it.
No.
I'm trying to pave the way for your generation. I need the roads.
Yeah, we're getting tired. So without we have a mission, Phil stated what we are trying to accomplish, and you and I had this conversation as well. So besides that, what can we do differently to get that word out there, to create that level of excitement for the younger generation to be a part of it, whereby they're curious that they want to get into an industry that's ever growing?
So like how do you do? We could talk about the data center, but do we just like find a young person on the street and just shout data center at them?
I think the best way to get the message out that data centers, one, exist, and two, that they're interesting, is to post about it. And y'all are doing a great job of marketing yourself and your brand. And I think if everyone in the space started posting beyond LinkedIn, but going to Instagram and going to other social sites that the younger generations use every single day, I think people would be like, oh, what's that? And then Google it. And so I think marketing is the only way to do that. And I don't know, I haven't met anyone that's specific to data center marketing in other organizations. It's just about getting the word out rather than focusing on what very specific product you offer that goes in a data center, just marketing data centers in general.
Yeah. And that's the issue. And I think, and part of what we're trying to, we do these talks at like the AFCOM event that was last year and is now coming up next year because time just keeps on going faster and faster. And
as you get older, Phil,
damn it. What time is this for you? Enjoy it while it lasts. What we try to say as a mission to the industry is that all of these companies, not just for their own immediate bottom lines, need to prophesize our industry, but to secure the future of the industry. The talk that we're giving in AFCOM next year is most companies think about like the year's earnings or the quarter's earnings, right? And we're trying to like tell them to think about what happens in 2040. Like if you see yourself as a business in 2040, you better hope that Nabil and I have retired at that point, and some of the elder statesmen in our industry have retired at that point. But in order to make sure that we have the type of talent that we need to ensure the survival of our business, we all need to collectively demystify the business by talking about it in a contextually in a way that younger folks can understand. And I think the fact that they're all using technology and understand how it works, but don't necessarily understand why it works, is the perfect kind of inroads. But I guess what we'll need your help on is creating the right, what do the kids call it, hashtags, to make sure that they're looking at what we're presenting. It's one thing for us to post to our followers on Instagram. Obviously, our generation, LinkedIn is the primary kind of social media platform where we all engage with each other. Instagram is great. TikTok is great. I'm sure you can think of social media platforms that we haven't thought of, like the one where you look like a bunny when you press the right button. I forget what it's called. My kids love that one. But I think we need the younger generation's help. We need the Emmas of our industry, to the extent that you and probably another friend of yours exists, to help us demystify our industry in a language that and with the right kind of conduit to finding that information. So help, Emma, help.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a great point. Just getting the word out there, and while you're talking, something else came to mind too, of just another factor that could make people more interested in this is within that people who end up retiring, there's going to be that gap is going to leave a lot of opportunity. Because at least what I've seen right now when I go to these events is everyone knows everyone because everyone's been in it for 20 plus years. And that's fantastic. But it's also daunting right now. Me coming in, trying to shake some hands. And so when people start to leave the industry, they're going to need new hands to shake and pals. And I'll be your pal. And I'm sure I've met some friends.
Pal as a service.
Yeah, pal as a service. Well, that's really the message that we are trying to get across. Besides it being just a gap in itself, if we're getting enough people, it's the people that are retiring and the tribal knowledge that they're going to take along with them as well. How has it been for you? And this does not reflect Honeywell, but just as an industry in general, being a female, being a young individual coming into space, how has your experience been thus far?
Yeah, being a young female in this industry, I've found that really every conversation that I have to prove that I know what I'm talking about to a level. just looking at me, people do not take me seriously off the bat. And so I have to work harder to gain someone's confidence in me in conversations than my male colleagues. And although
but that applies to any industry that you will go to, and not just as a female, as a young individual, you're always going to have to prove yourself that you made it, that you've entered into industry, that you've got that experience. So are you saying that that's unique to what we are doing in our industry, or is that common across any other industry that you've had a few other internship experiences as well? Was that similar, or is it totally different?
It was. No, it was across the board. And I don't know if it's because I've only been in male-dominated industries. And it's the circumstances in all industries. And it's although it's unfortunate, I am someone who loves challenges, and I don't necessarily see it as a burden, but really pushes me to know my facts and to drive personal learning. And so although it is unfortunate, I see it as a fun challenge across, it was across all industries. And so I don't think I've seen anything so far that's been like, wow, specifically about the data center industry.
What are you liking about the industry? What's unique?
Well, besides this podcast, which is clearly a career highlight.
I know, I kind of go down from here, right? What's next? No, it's really a new secret industry. Since I didn't know anything about it, I'm like, wow, what is this whole space? What are all these companies what are they doing? And so, just the fact that it was new, and I personally did not learn anything about software or hardware in college. And so this learning curve is quite steep for me. And I love that. I love learning, as I mentioned earlier, and that it's all new. And so I love learning what powers my world, why things are working. And that's what's
I promise. And apparently everything I say is true. So it sounds like curiosity. Curiosity is a big characteristic that you have, that you think certainly works to your benefit in this industry. Are there other characteristics that you have? Obviously, you're in sales, right? You have to be outgoing. You have to be, to a certain extent, confident, although not overly confident, because people are going to look to exploit that as well. But are there other characteristics that you found that you think would serve people well as they're trying to make their way in our industry?
Yeah. A few that I can think of right now are just personal connections, like valuing personal connections. Because I work hard to meet a lot of people because I get so much out of personal interactions with others, professionally and personally. And so I think that quality that would benefit a lot of people can be into this industry. And is really being able to adapt. It's like adaptability is a big one. Being able to adapt to changing requirements and scope of work pretty quickly. You have to be on your toes and be ready to move. And so if you don't like change very much, I would start practicing liking change.
I think that's true. I think that's true in life.
Yeah, if you don't want change, don't come into the data center industry.
Yes.
Did your parents have anything to say about you coming into this industry? Was there any talk about them having expectations for you in a particular industry? I imagine if it was new to you, it was probably new to them as well. And one of the initiatives that I always have is like, I come from kind of an old school Jewish family. So it was like, oh, you're going to be an accountant or a lawyer, or an accountant or lawyer or a doctor. Doctor was clearly them, except if I see blood, I just start weeping like a child. So if we can convince the parents and the grandparents to say that this is an industry that we want the future, we want our children and grandchildren to participate in, I think that would serve everyone well. Did your parents or grandparents have any thoughts about it other than being happy that you got a job?
Yeah, they were definitely happy I got a job. And I would say that they trust me a lot. And so when I said, this is what I'm going to do, they said, okay, great. My mom was very supportive, and they didn't really have too many questions for me. My dad graduated with an electrical engineering degree and then went on to law school. And so he's now a patent attorney. And so he knows the space a bit. And he was excited. And it's fun to be able to talk to him, like have new conversations because of just knowledge that I didn't have before. And so it's been great connecting with him in that new way too. But overall, they were very excited. There wasn't really hesitation or questions. I think I've just gotten really lucky with how much they trust me, and they know that I'm very self-motivated. And so that I wouldn't settle for anything if I thought I could do better. So
I think the one thing I'm getting out of this is that we need to, as not just an industry, as a world, we need to produce more Emma Grace Myers.
Exactly. Yeah. People that are self-starters. So Emma, you posted something really cool on LinkedIn that you don't reach perfect efficiency. You have to continually improve. That was pretty neat.
Yeah. Do you recognize that one?
Yeah.
A quote by you at the DICE conference. That was really awesome.
By the way, you're obligated on your next post to quote me. I'm not sure what that quote is going to be.
Mom, I didn't turn out to be a doctor. That'll be
Or grandma. Mom wasn't really into it either, but yeah, I appreciate
it.
Based on what you've experienced thus far, the people that you've interacted with, where do you see yourself the next 5 years? What are your goals? What are you aspiring for?
Yeah, I'd say my goal for the next 1 to 2 years, to start even smaller than that, is to continue in sales and see if it's really where I want to be, because I think it's where I want to be right now, but I just have not had enough experience in this particular role to know if this is a long-term thing for me or not. And so 1 to 2 years, stay in sales, give it my all, and I could just continue to fall in love with it more and more and stay in this role forever. And that could be my next 5, 10 plus years. Or in 5 years, if I'm loving sales right now and I think it's a great spot, but if my mind changes, something happens in the next few years, I think I'd be more interested in a kind of a systems engineering role, because I really like figuring out challenges and analyzing why things are operating the way they are. And one of the things I love about my role right now is that it is a solution-based selling role. And so I get to see things from the very beginning, starting with the design, through delivery, completion, and then service afterward. And so I love the whole concept of solution selling. And so taking what I know I enjoy into a different role, like systems engineering, it would really be that same concept of getting to take a project from the very beginning all the way to completion. And so maybe down the line, if a door opens to something like a data center project engineer, or systems engineer, something like that, I'd be interested in thinking about it more. But as for right now, I'm still trying to find my footing as it is. And I'm enjoying where I am. And that's as much as I can speak to what I think will happen. And so
it's another interesting thing about our industry that I don't think gets enough play is that it's so real. Like I think with a lot of things that people do, even if you're entry level role, or you, as an intern, everything is fairly abstract. Like you're doing something on a daily basis, but you don't actually see the fruits of your labor. In our world, because it's such a small industry, but it's so visible, it's so productive in terms of what we're enabling global. You probably get a sense that the stuff that you're doing is tangible. Like there's a sense of accomplishment in selling someone a system that is going to help operate a data center and create efficiencies that are going to enable technologies that you and your friends and people around the world are utilizing. And I think that's something that to a young person is incredibly fulfilling, but kind of difficult to articulate, or at least maybe not difficult, but certainly not something that is top of mind as we talk about like the benefits of entering one industry versus another.
Yeah, well, plus the advantage really is, we talk about it all the time, that this is the only industry in the world that's got subverticals. So today you're in sales, tomorrow you can be an engineer, or you can be an attorney if you'd like to. I don't know if there's much room for doctors in here. Anyhow,
God. Just keep failing all over again. It's just constant.
Sorry,
Grandma. I'm sorry.
So you got Carrie Gett's book. Carrie is actually one of our advocates for Nomad Futurist, jumpstart your career in data centers. And she writes about all the opportunities that exist in this industry. What's your favorite chapter or topic?
Yeah, they're going to make this an online review. Forget about the Amazon review. This is the tell us the real thing. If you hated the book, you can tell us that too.
Oh no, I'm still reading it. I have it on my desk.
I see with Post-it notes and markings and everything. My God.
Yes.
You can take the school. You can take the girl out of school, but you can't take the school out of the girl.
I know. I have so many markers still and highlighters and whatnot. But yeah, her book really, really explains things in a very simple way. Like it gives simple definitions enough for me to start to connect all the pieces. And so right now, my favorite part has been how she listed out all the job listings in the back and really giving insights into what you can do in this industry. I've gone through and highlighted a few as I've been.
You hear that, Honeywell? She's already looking for job listings in the back of Carrie Guess's books.
No.
What engaged?
Oh no! I thought it's so interesting what you can do in it because a lot of it is not seen. We see the security guard when we walk in, and then whoever is working in the operations center, and then I'm sure there are delivery people, but then like what else? What else is out there? It's not seen, and so it's been eye-opening to me to see how everyone can work in it and still be so remote and do things from far away and what goes into the building of it. I really, really enjoy just the construction of buildings too. I've always found that very interesting. And so I've loved how she laid out, all the different pieces of the puzzle here.
I think the thing that's amazing about Carrie, and I said this when we had her right after she released the book, that plain spokenness is magic. It's the ability to articulate it in real language and not overly complicate the description of these things, which I think inherently those are barriers that people put up, trying to use overtly complicated language to make themselves seem more smart, smarter. Obviously, I'm not one of those. Smarter and make an industry that is it's not simple. It's complex, but it's a series of pieces that I think people recognize from their home lives. Everyone has essentially some level of data center in their house, in their apartment these days because of how important connectivity is to our world. So if you can express it in that plain spoken nature, I always think that the easiest way to gauge someone's capacity for their subject matter is whether they can explain it to a third grader. You need to be able to explain this, not because people are inherently not able to understand large words. It's just that you turn off if something sounds overly complicated or you think you need a lab code in order to get it. It's just not as accessible. And her ability to make the subject matter of data centers accessible is exactly in line with our all stated goals of demystifying our industry.
It's a phenomenal book. Emma, so with knowing that we are working and striving towards creating these opportunities for the younger generation, expanding and sharing on these exposure and experiences, what is it that one thing that we as Nomad Futurists could do differently to get this broader reach? Mm-hmm. More TikToks or Snapchat?
We do have a TikTok channel.
We do now, yeah.
I am unfortunately on neither TikTok nor Snapchat, but I know what my peers are. I know. For me,
all right, Instagram. We got to do Instagram.
Yes, I do have an Instagram. It would have been helpful if I would have just heard about it, and then beyond that, had a class, even just the option to take a class or have it be part of the curriculum in one of the subjects that was required to take. I think it's just it's so critical. It's so critical. And so I cannot believe that it's, not required to be taught in school. And so I don't know if there's anything in particular your foundation can be doing differently, because I think y'all are doing fantastic. But what would have helped me more is, just to have it in the curriculum and hear about it and be able to learn about it.
When you're going to school, I know my kids are young. They're 9 and 6. She just had a birthday. So I know that part of their curriculum is they're using Google Classroom a lot. Obviously, the pandemic changed things, but they're using Google Classroom even in person to leverage it as a platform. And my way of thinking is, if they're using Google Classroom, then that's a perfect segue into showing them how Google Classroom actually works. Like why it exists on that screen. Where is all that stuff magically stored and all that? I imagine your generation also had technology was a component of the learning process, was it not? Obviously, you had a computer and stuff, but in the classroom, were you guys leveraging technology?
Yeah, it was more for team projects and whatnot, all collaborating on Google Docs or Google Slides or just something where we could all be collaborating together. And so that's what was really utilized.
Yeah, it wasn't really
Google
rolled out fully to be a communication platform or collaboration platform. It was a tool that was being used.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the
definitely
pandemic
more
changed some of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we haven't had an educational reform since the second industrial revolution. Hopefully it's time for
Oh,
this
wow.
one.
Wow. And the Beals catchphrase, you got it out. Amazing. But yeah, I think that would be incredible. And I think I don't want to give you more work to do because I assume you're busy, but it's one thing hearing from people like us. And I think it could be seen as preachy or whatever. I think younger generations would really find your story resonant because they'll see themselves in you, which is why we want to give the Emmas of the world a platform to be able to share, their enjoyment of this industry. Because coming from us, it doesn't sound right. We're basically this generation's version of the boomers. I don't know. It's bad. It's bad. We're old. We're old.
We can't demonstrate how exciting it is. I think it needs to come from you, Emma.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah. Sorry, you got another job now.
Yeah, and I'm trying to post more too about it and just show people that it is interesting once they realize the gravity of the situation of the shortage of laborers that will be here before too much longer. And so, yeah.
In many cases, it's already here. It's already here. Amazing.
Well, Emma, thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Any last words that you would like to share with our audience and your peers?
Join the industry. And it's okay to get things wrong when you're trying to join a new industry or find creative ways to get things done. Failure happens every day, especially in sales. It's part of the sales process. It doesn't mean that what you're doing isn't working. It's just an opportunity to adapt. And so...
What a segue to Nabil's second favorite catchphrase. What is fail?
Worst attempt in learning.
Right. Hey, thank you so much. This has been incredible.
Thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate your time.
This has been great. Nothing lasts forever. Markets will come back, currencies will rebound, businesses will go on, and we'll all move on. That could happen next week, next month, or next year. I'm confident that those who prepare rather than panic will come out of this stronger. Thank you for joining us. This has been brought to you by Nomad Futurist. Check us online at nomadfuturist.com.